Alright, we are using the Short Circuit Amulet today, playing it on Apocalypse so you can kind of see how it is working out there. The Amulet is pretty cool though. I really like it. It's very fun. It has two main effects going on with it. They both require you to have a shield active, so you have to build around shields, which I have two main sources of generating that. We have a ring, the rerouting cable, which will generate shields as we spend stamina, and then my ranged weapon mutator is the insulator, which generates a shield as we spend a percentage of the magazine. Now, what does the amulet do, though? Let me adjust my mic a smidge, though. It feels wrong. What does the amulet do? Well, the first thing it does is increase your crit chance and crit damage by 10%. That's both of them. And the cool thing is it's just kind of flat across the board. It's not ranged melee or anything like that. It's just crit chance, crit damage. And then the second part is that it reduces your skill cooldowns by 6% every 5 seconds. So it's just it just starts taking chunks off of the cooldowns, which is really cool. I really like it. And so what I ended up doing here, right, is leaning into a ranged focused setup, ranged crit chance, crit damage build with a bunch of skill cooldowns going on. The Hunter felt like a natural pick because it has a bunch of skills that involve critical hits, right? So, of course, we're going to use that. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And then I put on the Gunslinger because the quick draw is a lot of fun, and you can have those cooldowns coming off pretty quick. So focused in was ranged critical damage using the Hunter and Insulator, which also feeds into it. And then I leaned in a bit with the critical hits to generate more skill cooldowns. And that is done through the Sapphire Dreamstone. The Sapphire Dreamstone reduces your skill cooldowns by, I think it was 2% when you get a critical hit. Or maybe it's 4%? It's a percentage. It reduces skill cooldowns when you get a critical hit and has like a 2-second cooldown. So what we've got going on here is a lot of critical hit chance, some decent critical hit damage, and then, you know, just by having shields, which is going to increase our critical chance on our weapon, we're going to get a cooldown and then land more critical hits, which is then going to reduce our skill cooldowns because critical hits reduce our skill cooldowns. Like, it all like feeds into itself. And it's very satisfying. Not necessarily the best thing in the world, right? Like, that's not my focus whenever I do builds. I'm not trying to make the ultimate one-shot, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm looking for just fun concepts and things that synergize nicely and feel satisfying to use. And that's what we're doing here, because all these things sort of, like, work together, you know? Like, they just naturally meld. And I really like it. Plus, quick draw is a lot of fun. I mean, Gunslinger and Hunter is just a pretty natural combo, though, you know, most of the time it's Hunter than Gunslinger. The weapon itself, like, right now I'm using the Wrangler. I just now started trying to use it. I was using the Pulse Rifle, and I think I maybe prefer the Pulse Rifle. I like with this 3-round burst. It's got, like, just because it shoots more bullets, that means more chances for critical hits and cooldowns. With the Wrangler, because it's a single shot, you have a better chance to do, like, you know, more single shot impact, like, damage. But it's, like, less random little chances of getting critical hits for those cooldowns. But, you know, I'm probably going to switch it around a little bit. So that's something that's nice about this kind of build amulet setup thing anyways, is it's pretty general. Like, the amulet itself doesn't necessarily prevent you from doing a lot of builds. It's just built around, you just need to make sure you have shields, do stuff with skill cooldowns and critical hits, because otherwise you're not really utilizing all the effects of it, right? But you could do it with, you know, any of the invoker stuff. I was doing some elemental things with it earlier. At one point I was doing things that were using mods and trying to do mod critical hits and stuff. That was a little rough. But melee as well, going in with melee, and it just, overall, it's very flexible. And that's even where I focused in here with, like, ranged critical chance and damage and stuff. It doesn't require any specific weapons, really. The biggest thing about the weapons is you need to consider how the insulator works, because you have to spend 10% of the weapon's magazine to generate a shield. And then as long as you have at least 10% of your health shielded, that's when you get an increase to your crit chance. So you got to make sure, like, if I'm using the Chicago typewriter, I have to shoot at least, like, 10 bullets, right? I have to spend a solid second shooting before I'm going to get that shield activated, right? Where like the Wrangler, every single shot is a tenth of the magazine, and so it's going to immediately generate a 5% shield. So 2 shots is going to start proccing the whole thing. If you go with like a smaller magazine or a single shot weapon, you're going to start, you know, hitting that threshold very easily in like a single shot. You know, pull out the coach gun, 2 shots, and you're done 100%, right? So it is kind of something to keep in mind, and I might go back to one of them too. I don't know. I'll probably try something else here for this dungeon. Actually, I kind of want to try Starkiller. I like Starkiller. I know it's like, it's not as good as I remember it being in Remnant from the Ashes, but it is pretty cool, and something it can do for us is lock down groups of enemies. That's something my setup kind of struggles with right now, is when there's a lot of enemies, I can have some issues like keeping myself safe because I get swarmed. With the black hole thing, whatever it's called, gravity core, that can help us out with, you know, making sure that we kind of lock down some enemies, right? So most of the time, as you'll see, I start with Hunter's Mark. I just get that going so that I can just see all the enemies. That's going to help us out with weak spot damage, increased crit chance and stuff, which we built in pretty heavily into increased critical chance and critical damage. And so that's kind of like the key piece I start with. And then as I go and I start emptying my magazine, then we'll pull out the quick draw to auto reload our weapon so that we're not like actually spending ammo. I really thought I was going to catch that dude or something, but while the quick draw activates and stuff, then our Hunter's Mark can be coming off cooldown because it's going to naturally come off cooldown faster thanks to having a shield. And then as we land these critical hits and stuff, it's actually going to come off cooldown faster thanks to the Sapphire Dreamstone. So now we can do this. Boom. I messed that up a little bit. We missed. Boom. Now we're good here with some good damage. Hit some of them a bit. We're going to black hole them a little bit, except I missed because I'm not on it right now. That's what happens when you like pretty much get off work and just come right into doing this and you're just not warmed up at all. But then that's generally how it kind of goes. Yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing with problem I have with using this as what I did with the Wrangler. Because it's the single shot thing, the chances for critical hits, while they are big hits, it doesn't give us a lot of that skill cooldown, right? So I might switch it back to the pulse rifle, I think. Now, because, you know, we're building around shields and that's doing so much for critical hits, like, you know, something about our setup, just by having a shield, our amulet is giving us 10% more crit chance and 10% more crit damage. And then our ranged weapon is actually going to give us another 10% crit chance. So that's 20% extra crit chance right there. Once we start getting our Hunter's Mark active, that's another 10% crit chance going on right there, right? And so suddenly we've got a lot of like, not guaranteed critical hits, but I mean, you can see how many critical hits we can start getting. And because of that, we put on the probability cord, make sure we've got some increase to our critical hit damage so that all of those hits are just doing even more damage. And on top of that, by just increasing our critical damage, we're actually increasing the damage of our quick draw because all those hits are guaranteed critical hits. So the amulet is adding 10% more damage to our quick draw ability. The probability cord that we have on equipped right now adds another 20% damage to our critical hits. So, you know, and our fragment, we have extra critical hit damage on our fragment. So just by having those in there, it's making our quick draw even more deadly, which is part of the reason I want to use the quick draws, because it's, you know, just a quick activate, do some damage type of thing. But if you're not really into using quick draw, you could absolutely run with like Bullet Storm or something. And then what you do is you alternate between having Hunter's Mark active, take care of some guys there, and once that's like ending, that's when you pull out the Bullet Storm, and that can do some good work for you there, and go from there, and you just alternate back and forth like that, you know? But as it is right here, I just like to use the skill here because it's just really satisfying to do. Bang. Oh, I missed a weak spot. Now, I didn't do it there, but something you'll probably want to do if you're using the quick draw is you kind of want to like animation cancel it, because your guy spends a long time doing the freaking flippy spinny nonsense, and so that can really be bad for you. So you can immediately animation cancel it by doing a neutral dodge or just rolling. And I mean, even if you're in the middle of actually doing the quick draw itself and an enemy is going to like hit you, you can cancel it as well and not actually even finish the whole thing. Pow, 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 pow. Yay. Bop, bop. So, I mean, like I said, is this some like crazy mind-blowing setup? No, I would not say so. Is it fun though? I find it fun because the skill cooldowns are pretty quick. You have, you know, extra crit chance and damage and stuff, which is always super satisfying. It's always very satisfying to find or get lots of critical hits and critical damage. So, to me, very enjoyable. And so once we get rid of this guy, I'll give you kind of the specifics on all the loadout, and then we'll fight the bloat, not the bloat, but the whatever it's called, the big blob. So here we go. We've got Gunslinger and Hunter. Gunslinger, I chose that as my primary because I wanted to have the infinite ammo stuff because we're using the skills so often. Being able to really draw in that loaded perk, it's like as much as possible, seemed like really nice. Plus, if we had the Hunter as a primary archetype, like because we're getting so much skill cooldown, the prime perk on the Hunter would allow our skill to stay active for longer, which I don't really need because I'm going to have so little downtime between when the skill ends. So I don't really need it to last longer because I can get the cooldown low, right? So that's why I oriented it like this. You could swap around the skills, like I said earlier, depending on what you want to do. Here is our amulet, the short circuit, as mentioned, which is all just a big reference to the movie. It's Johnny 5. It even looks like his face, right? So that gives us that 10% increase in our crit chance and damage, and then skill cooldowns. Here's my other shield generator thing, rerouting cable so that we spend stamina just in a fight to generate a shield, because sometimes this is my main source and I'm not always able to shoot. So having another source of a shield is just kind of nice. But if you don't feel like you need it and you're pretty comfortable where you're at, trade that out and you could increase some more into crit chance, more into raw damage, more stuff with skill cooldowns so that you're using those skills even faster, more often, yada, yada, yada. Sapphire Dreamstone, critical hits reduce skill cooldowns by 4% once every 2 seconds, so we can get that going pretty frequently. Probability Cord, 20% more crit damage. It just helps us out quite a lot. And then the Generating Band generates 3% of our maximum HP while we have a shield active, which is pretty much all the time. If you don't want to use it, you can put points into regrowth, or maybe you just want to stick to a relic that's going to heal you or something like that. Again, you could trade it out, put in some more damage, and just kill your enemies faster, right? Gun, I'm sticking with the pulse rifle right now, but ultimately it's about the insulator. Insulator is going to generate that shield for you and give you another increase to your crit chance. I do have corrosive rounds in there because it increases our range crit chance by 15%. Also corroded, so it reduces armor as well. The melee weapon I've chosen is Spectral Blade because it's really fun, it's really good, and shielded strikes in it fits really nicely, and you can get a very solid combo between it and the rerouting cable. So what happens is you do a neutral dodge back, which consumes stamina, so you generate a shield like that. Then you do the charged neutral backdash attack, right? So that charge consumes stamina, so it, again, generates more shield. And then that whirlwind attack is going to hit a bunch of enemies, which will also generate shield. So you can generate a lot of shields with that combo. And plus, by having more shields, it's going to increase your melee damage based on your shield amount, right? And then I have the Western Classic on because it's the Western Classic and we're kind of doing a gunslinger-ish type of thing at the moment. It's got Song of Aether in there. That's something to help me deal with big groups of enemies. So it just locks down a bit more enemies, messes up the flyers, and slow is just fantastic. Momentum, because we have so many critical hits, this will increase our critical hit chance and damage, etc., right? The armor, whatever you want it to be, just depends on what you got and how you're feeling and what you want to build. I'm messing around with the Latent Heart right now. I've barely used it. Again, the build is not about what relic you have on there. So depending on what you want to use what you want. Whatever these called. Traits. Traits, man. I'm playing on Apocalypse. Like I said, I've got Fortify. I've got Vigor. Do what you have to do to survive. Specifically for this build, because I'm focused in on range, I love the Swiftness combo into Footwork so that I can move faster while aiming down sights. It allows me to dodge a lot of things just by moving. Handling is just fantastic as well for that recoil control. It really makes the pulse rifle very smooth. I did put 10 points or maxed out expertise because just having a bit more, lower cooldown on things just makes things a little bit smoother as well. And because I'm generating so many shields, I like barrier, so it increases shield amounts by 15%. So it just makes each individual charge of these shields that we generate a little bit more beefy. Even though the maximum amount doesn't change, like we can still only go to 25% of our maximum HP with this this mutator, and we can still only go to 50% here. If I'm getting hit and I'm not really reaching that maximum, it's nice to have a bigger value more quickly, or, you know, be able to get more bang for my buck just by shooting once, you know what I mean? But because I'm able to generate shields so constantly, so easily, I did not put points into preservation, which increases the duration of the shields, because I'm just generating them all the time. If I had like one thing that was generating a shield and I needed it to last a long time, then I would probably put points into it, but I wasn't worried about it. Fragment wise, health bonus, range critical chance, and critical damage. If you want, you could sacrifice the health bonus to put in more range damage. That critical damage and critical chance is just going to get you more damage than adding in the ranged damage right now, because we have so much critical chance. That crit damage makes a big difference, right? It all just stacks up nicely. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let's go fight the Bloat King. Not the Bloat King. God, what is that thing called? What is this thing called? Is it the Abomination? Yeah, the Abomination. Do you quick run around, do a couple shots. There we go. Get this ready. Pow. Oh, how did that not hit him? I'm really upset about that, actually. Whirl away from that bomb. Whoop. There we go. There's a good hit. Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, it's okay damage. We're not, like, breaking any records or anything like that, obviously, you know? Like, you can do some crazier things with the shift to how the Invoker stuff kind of works. Like, you can do a lot with the Invoker skills now and skill cooldown. It's kind of bananas, like just constant actual skill spam. This is more tame, much more reasonable, and like just kind of regular day stuff. But overall, I do enjoy it, right? If I can bust those, oh, I was hoping to hit the bombs in them to slow them down. And we activate this, start blasting them. He's on the left. Pick this up. Whee! Oh, he didn't do it. Bang, break that. Take a couple shots. Activate that. Cool. And I would just go to town. It's just like this. Just clean gunplay is where we're at right now, right? Like that's just what we're doing. I was hoping to catch him with that. Oh, hello. Yeah, that was some good hits. If you can, I don't remember. I haven't tested it in a while, but with the options of your quick draw, you can hold it to do that powerful shot, or, you know, let it go and just do the rapid fire shots. So if you're able to and get the charge shot on a weak spot, that's going to do more damage than the just like rapid fire, right? But if you can rapid fire hit all weak spots, then I'm pretty sure that does more than the focused fire thing, because you're getting more hits that are critical hits and weak spot hits. He might get ready to roll away here in a second, so if we can... I was kind of hoping that might have clipped it. That's okay. Wonder if that didn't stagger him. I was hoping that would actually stagger him out of it. It did not. Look how quickly the 100 mark comes off cooldown. And just by like shooting things as our primary form of DPS and safety and stuff, having that just automatically bring our skills off cooldown faster is really fun. But I mean, of course, somebody's probably gonna be like, yeah, but you could just put on the, you know, Way of Keula and spam that into quick draw and it'll do... You'll just non-stop skills. And I was like, okay, yeah, you can do that. And I mean, that's cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, I don't want anybody to think there's anything wrong with being able to do crazy things like that. Like, those are really awesome. But what you need to understand, though, right, is just because, yeah, you can do that does not mean other things are less fun, right? Because sometimes I just want to be able to really interact with the game and the mechanics and just dodge things and shoot and do all the other things. I'm not always looking to just sit there and hit miasma over and over again and let, you know, status effects spread. Like, it's very satisfying, but it gets, to me, it gets old really fast. And so being able to do something like this where it's just like, hey, here's just a regular build, a regular idea that feeds in and works with concepts that work really well with each other or like synergize nicely. That's it. That's what that's just what we're looking to do, right? It's fun. It's fun. I have beaten a couple world bosses with the setup. Like, I took out Talrotha, and I know he's generally considered one of the easier ones, but, like, I did it with the Ravager as well. I fought the Corruptor dude. Like, you can do it. There's nothing wrong with it, and it leaves plenty of flexibility to swap things around to really make it your own. And, you know, if you're playing on different difficulties, you got more flexibility as well, of course. So, yeah, it's just fun. I mean, Short Circuit. Short Circuit is really fun. Shields are great. Having more crit chance and stuff is fantastic. Cooldown is being reduced automatically in chunks is just cool. So, that's pretty much it. I'm glad the week is over. It's Friday. Thank the Lord. I'm tired. It wasn't even a hard week. You ever have a week at work and, like, nothing crazy even happened? Like, it was honestly a pretty mild week, but you're just... you're still just, like, done? Like, what is that? What is this? Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate it. You checking it out. And until the next one, take care.